Hey everybody, welcome back. I'm going to be doing a quick video here just to talk a little bit about being an admin on a Arc server. Um, a lot of the stuff I'll talk about actually applies to almost any server you're running, but in my particular experience has been 2,500 hours for the past year or so, couple years, doing Arc servers. It was a little rough in the beginning. Unfortunately, my mistakes cost friendly players and all kinds of different people a lot of pain. So hopefully I can share some of those experiences with you and avoid it happening if you're just getting going on being an Arc server manager. So of course, starting right off with the most basic, preparation and testing. It's a really great idea to make sure that you've settled on your settings, your concept, and your mods before you introduce that server to the public. You don't want to be indecisive about it. One thing for sure, some people would like to do a poll or something on Steam or Reddit in advance of launching the server to get a better idea of what people might want. That's understandable. But if I was you, I would make sure that you have your settings and everything else really hard decided upon and then tested before you introduce that server to the public and start spending your time advertising. There's a few reasons for that. One is people do join based on settings you present them. They might get a little salty if suddenly the settings change. If you spend especially a couple weeks on a server building and doing things, and all of a sudden there's a major setting change, or even sometimes certain minor ones, um, people could get upset about that, and understandably. Mods and setting adjustments now and again kind of go south. You may need to revert back, or you may decide it doesn't work, and most times that does involve a restart. I find, especially in the early days of the server, and even throughout, a stable, consistent server, generally players value that quite a bit. Every player has their own ideas about what's best for the server. Some people share them, some people don't, and some people really push it. You have cases where a player tells you things like, well, I've got 5 players that'll come play there, but I need the stacks mod, and we can't come without it. Or I really want to play, but you need this mod, and so on and so forth. Or other people that play and say, well, it's just BS that you don't have this mod. These things are going to happen. It's a part of it. We don't choose our players. Some do, but if you want a high pop server, you're probably going to try and get as many people as you can, even the ones that complain all the time. But if you start changing things around at the whim of everybody and what they want, you're going to run into trouble as far as all the things we mentioned, restart times, unreliability, and so on and so forth. The best thing to do is, be considerate, listen to their idea, and in some cases, players bring fantastic ideas to your server. So it's a really good idea just to listen and check it out. And if it makes sense, go ahead and implement it. I don't recommend a lot of significant changes in the early days, but as it progresses, you might find ideas that players bring forth that are a lot better than yours. And heck, what's wrong with that? Get that implemented so that we can all enjoy it. Um, Moving along, server restarts. We talked about the consistency of it. There's another little thing to be said. In my case, when you join my server, regardless of whether you've been on it before, in the welcome message is only 2 pieces of information. One is about our Discord channel so that server players can stay informed, and the other is the scheduled daily restart. Um, if a new player happens to join right before a daily restart and they don't know it's a daily restart, they might get the wrong idea. Not ideal, especially when it's their first impression. And as well, lets people know that, it does restart once a day and we'll be shutting down somewhere. Make sure that's posted in a place where hopefully even the newest of player is made aware of it. Don't do random restarts unless absolutely necessary. Everybody has a different internet connection and PC. There's people that live in rural areas that do take quite some time to be able to load into the game. And obviously there's potatoes out there. That being said, because it takes you 2 minutes to log into Arc and get your character up and running, that doesn't mean it's like that for everybody. Even worse, people could be flying or doing various critical missions, and a sudden restart is really not ideal. And sudden could mean in 30 minutes I'm restarting. That in Arc could be considered not enough notice. Um, and that being said, if weeks have passed and you've been running a server at 99% uptime, and now you're getting the idea that, I can do 3 restarts today to fix something. What about the player that just happened to join that day? Sure, your long-term players understand that you have always uptime, and they'll be very understanding with a few restarts in a day. But what about the one that just joined? That's a terrible first impression for that player. So I recommend if you're going to do changes, mods, settings, and whatnot, and you're going to have to do some restarts. Number one, research it. Uh, you could almost go as far as to practice without doing it, putting in those settings. At least find on your UI where the settings are and make sure you understand them. And that way, when you do your restart or your stop to adjust, it goes smoothly and quickly. And for me, if I'm going to have to do that, and it happens to us all where we got to do changes, tweaks, repairs, or whatnot, I'm probably going to try and do that on a Monday morning when my population is really low, and it's going to be announced on whatever communication devices you have. I find that's something that you really want to, take home. Another really, well, it's all kind of important, I guess, but another big one is the admin codes. Um, I'm not saying you have to memorize them, but it's a really good idea to make sure, as a minimum, you at least have the main admin codes, like console commands, bookmarked. In my case, I also have spawn commands for items, S plus items, and dinos of all kinds because I use a lot of mods. So I've gone ahead and looked up the Steam pages for the workshop to find to make sure I have those command codes ready. Um, and get to know your Show My Admin Manager menu in the UI. There's a whole lot of cool stuff in there. It's really been made better since the early days of Arc, and some of it's not super clear when you're taking a look at what's written here. So it's a good idea if you're really going to be running some high pop servers to take a look at some of these things and practice them in a safe environment. Simple mistakes can cause a lot of loss, and what that turns into is a upset player, a player that's lost confidence, and then if you're going to be replacing everything, that's a lot of work. So as we can see here, you have your cheat manager, and then you also have the web page with the console commands on it. So do your best to get as familiar with those as possible. Unquestionably, you're going to learn some as time goes on, and you'll even learn some from the players. Which brings us to something important. The players and fairness. In the early days of the map, and this is just an opinion, I don't recommend on day one building yourself a spawned in giant metal base with a whole bunch of dinos all spawned in, taking up a large portion of the map. New players and your best promotion might happen when the server is fresh. It's a big attraction for people to play on a fresh server. When you say fresh server, most people want that to really be fresh. They don't want giant metal bases around and turrets. So for me, I like to roll at the pace of the middle tribes. I let the alpha tribe do their thing. They're the alpha, that's great. I can't keep up with them. I'm one man who spends a lot of time adminning. But I do tend to keep up with the middle tribes at my pace. I personally am not a big fan of spawning stuff in, but you're paying for a server. If you want to spawn stuff in, go for it. But it can be a good idea, at least when the server's new, that you're doing that kind of discreetly. Just makes people feel a little more comfortable for some reason. Something psychological there to think about. You don't know the players, okay? If you're trying to run a high populated server, you probably won't have time to check into everybody's server profile and chat with every individual player. Some you know, some you won't. They'll just get in there through a join screen or God knows. That being said, you never know who you're talking to. So you could be talking to a player with 5,000 hours experience or 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 hours of admin experience. And, if you're acting like a hotshot who knows everything around someone like that, you're not going to look too smart, are you? Be humble. It never hurts. If you're not sure of a question someone's asking, but you think you know the answer, say, well, I think it's this, but I'm not sure. I would check that out. That kind of stuff goes a long way with people. And you just don't know who you're dealing with. This is, again, it's kind of a personal choice, but when it comes to Arc, I'm not a giant fan of replacing people's stuff every time they lose it. And they say it's a glitch or whatnot. Glitches do happen. Most Arc players, serious Arc players, the kind of players that are going to set up a home on your server, they know that Arc has losses. They know there are ways to avoid glitches. And in most cases, I fell off my bird and lost it, or I'm stuck in a rock, or I fell on a cliff and I'm stuck. There may be a non-admin solution to a lot of problems. My dino's stuck in a rock. Well, a lot of times you can just whistle it out. You can punch it out. If you're going around, running around, solving everybody's problems, that's all you're ever going to do, and your server pop's not going to be great. But on a worse note, if someone comes to you and says, I lost my dyno because your game glitched, or I lagged because your server's this, or I lagged because my computer, or there was a power failure, or it just disappeared and flew into the map, you're putting a lot of trust there, aren't you? I mean, people kind of get upset sometimes and lose dynos, so now you're just giving them out. Okay, well that's great. Everyone will probably love you. You might keep a few players a little longer, but what about the players that don't ask for things? How are they going to feel? Um, and that becomes a bit of an issue for some players where they're working hard, they have these great teams, and here you are just popping stuff up all over the map. I don't recommend doing it unless there's a very unique situations. I would let people play the game and keep it more fair for everyone. You never know who's telling you the truth or not. And if someone really busts your balls about it, just say, look, I've already said no to other people. It just wouldn't be fair to them, you know. And that's, I don't, you're not manipulating. That's the truth. I mean, it's just not right to give some people some things and other people nothing. So I just don't do it. And this is the second last topic, and something even myself, as someone who's fairly mature and patient without a lot of pressure in RL, can struggle with now and again. Sometimes things go wrong. Server can go down, Discord, Steam, Reddit's down, something's happening in the background in your real life, and now you've got a player that's really salty and messaging you about something that went wrong, and things are just coming apart. You have too much on the go, and you might lose it on someone, or you're going to be rude or whatnot. Get a little bossy, or make it seem like they're getting on your nerves. The problem with that is that person that's messaging you doesn't know about all the things that are happening in your background. This is not life or death. When I get into a situation where 5 or 10 things go wrong at the same time, and it's just bad luck, two servers go down, one customer, one player is really upset on one server, and so on and so forth, and I start feeling that I'm getting a little tense, I literally walk away. 2 minutes won't change anything. I go settle down. I might go make a coffee, whatever it is, juice, tea, whatever you need. Take a breath, then go back, and without looking at all your messages and everything that's going on, just write a list, a priority list of how you need to resolve all these issues, starting with one at a time. Get a copy and paste that says, I'm sorry, I'll be with you in a minute. You're definitely on a list. Something like that. Have that ready to pop out to everybody. And they'll keep sending a message. But once you copy that, paste that one thing, worst case, send it again, but literally I'll send it once. Again, the players don't realize you've got 100 players across 4 maps, 2 servers are down, all these things are happening, and now you're telling them, hey, I'm busy, piss off, or just, I'm busy right now. Even that sounds rude. Copy and paste a, hey, I've got you on a list, I'm dealing with a few issues, I'm going to be right with you, and you just chop that out. After that, if they keep bitching, that's their problem. You've explained what's happening. And from there, work through that problem. Remember to breathe and stay cool, because whatever attitude you have will come out to the players. And it's very common to have these snotty, know-it-all, sort of bossy type, dickhead admins out there. Well, why are you doing it, number one? And it's, it makes it so when you're the nice one, you're going to be a lot more popular than the rest. I'll tell you that much. The way private servers roll, there's 20,000 of them out there, I think. There's not a whole lot of players to go around for that many. And if you're friendly and you run it like it's important to you and you enjoy what you're doing, you're going to have a lot more success with that. The final note's very quick, and it's going to be in another video more in depth, so I'm not going to go into it too much now. Your communication. How are we getting and talking to the players? Obviously, many of them might have you on their Steam friends list, but that's not really ideal. Of course, Discord and many other communication devices are very useful, and keeping that organized is very important. That's going to be my next video coming up as soon as I end this one, guys. So thank you for watching. If you want to subscribe and like, I'll tell you what, that's obviously much appreciated.